For me, I mean, the people that know me longer, it's been such a intense process for me around, is voice dialogue just working with personality? And if it is, do I really want to do that? At some stage I got to that point of going, that is just too narrow for me and too flat for me. And then I was having all these discussions with Hull about, is being or the transpersonal just a part? And we had a phase of going through those discussions. And then for me what became clear is that the process itself is a transformational process. Like, if you really look at what we're doing when we're doing voice dialogue, we are doing things like, this is me, and then we're doing, no, that's not me, that's just a part of me, and because I have that part, and so I have that part, and then, oh no, but I actually got an opposite part, okay, so now I've got two parts, and oh, there's another one, so I'm doing this number, I'm going, something that I thought it was me is actually out here, out there, I can look at it, I can feel it, I can disidentify, I can move it in and out. So if that's the case, then what's left? Like, who's this me then that's doing all this watching, disidentifying, moving in and out? And then you start to kind of go, well, I don't really know who that is. Because the moment I can name it, then I can make it a part and I can move it out of myself. So to me that's who am I? That's Ramana Maharshi, that's all that whole process of keep questioning who am I, and the more I ask who am I, the less I know who I am, and the more the spaciousness opens up. So that in itself for me is a spiritual transformational process. So that's one thing. But the other thing is that when I am facilitating and I'm working with people, there are these moments when people suddenly pop through and through an energy, and there's this spaciousness that opens up. And I think most of you have experienced that and have a contact to that, where suddenly everything that the whole personality seems something else, and I'm somewhere else, and I'm beyond that, and I'm not part of that. And so I described that, and the article that's in the anthology describes that. And it's that bit that I'm really still very interested in developing in the work, like how to bring that in more deliberately, and how to teach facilitators, how to teach you to be able to spot that and take people deeper into that. And that's still not quite. I'm still not quite sure how I can do that. It means that it obviously means you have to be able to inhabit that place. So one of the things I thought of is for us to have some time, this afternoon, to see how do we find that place in us. What is it that you do that makes you access that? And so when you have more access to that, more deliberate access to that, then how can you, when you're working with someone, and you are wanting to make this part of your practice, you're wanting to make this part of what you're doing with people. And personally, I think it's incredibly valuable, because it is one of the major resources that, the connection to the transpersonal is one of the major resources for people to be able to deal with their personality, to be happy to inhabit personality. Because like when we were doing the gang the other day, you could feel the heaviness and the density and the trappedness and the kind of the attraction. It's like a magnet, like how we get pulled into that. And there are parts of the personality like playfulness and vulnerability and the rebel and the freedom voice and spirituality. There are all these different parts that can make it easier to have this density. But there's also a major energy within us that is always present. That's the other thing I notice, that for all of us, it's actually not an energy that is ever gone. we go away from it. We go away from it. We go into story and attachment to what we think is going on, and we are so addicted to story, you know. But once you realize that it's there, it's just that it's a practice of finding it again and again in a day-to-day environment, in just sitting here and knowing that it's just here, and all I have to do is, like, for some people when they do sessions and they realize it's behind them, it's like leaning back. I've done some sessions with people where it was just all you have to do is lean back, and there it is. And that's why I call it a resource. It's really the memory that we're not just a human being, and that we can move in and out between, you know, being a human being, doing what we're doing, having our bonding patterns and our enmeshment and all this stuff, and at the same time there's always that sense of depth and spaciousness just there. And ultimately that's what I think the real gift is of voice dialogue. You know, I feel that it's just an amazing tool to have access to it. And I think if you bring that into your practice with people, it just brings in such depth. So I find it incredibly important. So it's like nearly like I was going to say, it's a being with a big B. I was nearly going to say that. Like there is a polarity of being and doing, but I'm talking about something that's a bit vaster. It has an archetypalness feeling about it. It's kind of a really big space in some way. Whereas being can be, I think if you do being and then you expand it, you get there. And so the way I love working with it too is when people are actually in being, that I then engage them in doing. So when people in the session, so this is what I call transpersonal dialogue, when people in the sessions are in that kind of spaciousness, and usually what happens is people get really careful because they think, like, if I move or say or think, then I'm going to lose that. So we have this kind of tendency to be really precious about, oh my God, I'm feeling being now, I'm feeling expanded now, so I've got to be really careful. And it's actually possible. So what I tend to do is kind of go, okay, so let's see if we can talk. Let's see if you can walk around. What happens if you have a thought? Can you have a thought? Can you think about something and still be in this expanded space? Because that's the practice of being a human being and being in the world and doing stuff and still being in that spaciousness. So for me, that's when I call it more transpersonal dialogue, because it kind of veers away a bit from voice dialogue, because I'm actually directing and doing things, stuff like that.